Hello, travelers, and welcome to the World of Dragons podcast, the podcast where 2.5 dragons get together to discover, review, and discuss dragon-centric content to help you dragon fans line. To help you dragon fans find your next adventure to go on. Fuck, I don't know.
This is your intro.
This is my intro, and I don't want to just like write it down because I want it to be organic, but then we keep having bullshit like this. But anyway, I'm Ray the Sea Dragon, and I'm here with Bantam the I want to do Dilatan the Earth Dragon and Bantam the Half-Breed.
First
now, you
of
two say
all,
hello.
I am not an Earth Dragon. We've been over this.
Right, I wanted to say Land Dragon because you can't fly.
I can listen.
He can fly. He's just too fat.
Exactly. I make the conscious choice not to fly.
Conscious choice to be fat. Also, this time we're here with a very special guest, the author of the Lazy Scale series, DM Gilmore.
Hi, everybody. I'm here,
and we're very happy to have you here.
Yeah, you could just call me Dan for the
Dan
duration of the just because it's easier than always referring to me as DM or Mr. Gilmore.
Well, every time I said DM, like before on the show, in my head, I always kept thinking like D&D, let's go.
I was going to say, it'll start to sound like we recorded a D&D session. Like, DM,
yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question.
I rolled to seduce the dragon.
And you failed.
Damn. Okay. I'm gonna DM about DMing.
Please, no.
I am actually running a D&D campaign right now.
I'm trying to start a Pathfinder campaign, and Dilettant's being a stick in the mud.
I'm not being a stick in the mud. I'm being a working stick in a very productive river. I don't know how to do that.
Much more dangerous than being in the mud.
I don't know where I was going with that analogy, but the work has been a bitch. My trailer's just fucking up. My stores are angry. Thank you.
All right.
All right, that's enough real life talk. We're not here for real life. Real life sucks. We're here for fantasy.
It was like 5 seconds of real life. Calm down.
Too much.
I really like that analogy though, and I will probably steal that for a book at some point. I am not a stick in the mud. I am a working class stick in a very productive river.
Yeah.
If you use his dialogue, you have to give him a signed copy.
That's the rules.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see.
Anyway, so thank you for joining us here to assault you verbally for your crimes against Lewis and Dragonkind.
And now we see the violence inherent in the system. Help, I'm being oppressed.
So I told these two to write down some questions so that I can try and stay on track and not eat up all of your morning. But before we get into our questions, I wanted to ask you if there's any, because you've been listening to our episode, so I wanted to know if there's anything you need to bring up yourself to like we got it wrong, or you want to further explain or defend yourself or anything like that.
Or attack us.
Yeah, so I've mentioned before in Behind Closed Doors that Aurora is trans. She is not a trans allegory, she is just outright trans. I didn't feel the need to actually mention it directly in the book because it was written for specifically people who are trans who would recognize the signs.
Mm-hmm.
But and to everybody else, I left it up for interpretation, but she is 100% trans. If you didn't know before, I'm sorry, this is how you found out, ?
The way you just explained how you wrote that into the book though is the way I like to see it. Mm-hmm. If it's straight up explained to you and put in your face, it seems forced and it seems like you're trying to get brownie points or something. But if it's left
felt
up,
much more natural this way and without like organic.
Yeah, especially as you said, if they will recognize the signs and go, oh my God, whereas everyone else can kind of breeze over it if.
Yeah. Like it's kind of the same with Becca being bisexual. Cool, she's in a lesbian relationship. We don't shove it in your face. Oh no, I mean I guess it is kind of shoved in your face a little bit.
But that's because it's her personality. She just has to bring it up.
Yeah. She's very extra.
Yeah.
She's a bisexual disaster. That's just how she is.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
But but like her falling in love and like getting that's not a plot point. She's just queer. That's just who she is.
Yeah.
Kind of like how I'm usually very overtly sexual, a lot of off-color comments and stuff. That's just me.
Yes, you too are the queer disaster.
I have to spray him with a hose every once in a while.
All right, get the spray bottle out. No, bad dragon.
All right, that does lead into my first question. So I'm just going to interrupt in case you had more things you wanted to bring up yourself. Because with Aurora being trans, male to female, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then the dragon transformation just straight up made her female?
Yeah.
Why? I guess it's the best way to ask that.
So it's for the same reason that it didn't correct her. That didn't correct Lucy's muteness. The spell kind of idealizes the person in question. So for Lucy, she didn't see her muteness as being part of her that's broken, so it didn't need to be fixed.
Mhm.
And in Aurora's case, her gender, her son gender, was something that she felt needed to be fixed, so the spell fixed it.
Okay.
Yep.
I like that.
It's a very simple thing. But
especially with the whole muteness not being a flaw, it's like, I guess a really light allegory would be, I wear glasses, and a lot of people have asked me, have you ever thought about getting LASIK? And I'm like, aside from the horror that is the knowledge
Needles
of how
in your eye?
needles and knives in my eye, I'll never get LASIK because I've seen what I look like without glasses, and it's become part of my face. It's as much my identity when you look at me and I've seen people who have worn glasses for years and years and years, and then they get LASIK, and I'm like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah, that's actually kind of that's a good analogy, a good way of putting it.
Okay, so everybody gets to be their idealized dragon, except for Lewis. He just gets to be Last Hope 2.0.
What makes you think that wasn't his idealized dragon?
Oh, that was extremely lucky in that case. Just because they're always described as, once people see Last Hope with color, they're always like, hey, he could be Lewis's dad. They look so similar. So it's like, all right, so he just gets to be Last Hope 2.0 because the original spell was to steal his body. But everyone else gets to be... It's like,
As Ray immediately takes this...
I'm adding this to your list of crimes against Lewis, yes. Write this down. Done. Thank you.
My first question is it has nothing to do with the plot of the book. It's more what would be your advice to so a lot of people say they want to write a book. A lot of people are like, oh man, including us, all three of us, we all want to. But getting started is the hardest part. Getting started is the hardest part. So what would your advice be for aspiring authors to just get started?
Okay, I've got two pieces of advice here. Number one, don't be afraid to fail. I wrote like 3 books before I finally had something that was half decent enough to be worth publishing. And even now I look at that piece of shit and go, wow, cut that. And even now I look at that, I look at that book and go, wow, this is not good. So it takes a lot of time to get good. So don't be afraid to fail. And number 2, fail fast, fail hard, fail often. The faster you write, the faster you fail, and the faster you fail, the faster you learn, and the faster you learn, the better you get. So it's a vicious cycle.
Even if we razz on your books a little bit here and there, it's you can never make a perfect book for everybody.
No, I don't try.
The Harry Potter books are widely renowned as amazing, whatever, and I think they're garbage. I would much rather.
I don't have time to unpack all of that.
I would. Well, I'm just saying because you know me. I would rather watch the movies because I started reading some of the Harry Potter books when they first came out. Just wasn't for me. I'm not saying they're bad books. I'm just saying that they're not books I enjoyed. But it's like you'll never be able to please everybody all the time. So write what your passion is. Something
like that. Not necessarily even what your passion is. Just you got to learn what you can write quickly and then write it a lot.
Yeah.
I listened to a writing advice podcast from 2 authors and a writer. That's their gimmick. Like, we're 2.5 dragons. One of the advice that they always give is like, how do you sit down and start? And like, just sit down and start. You just got to do it. It's not good advice, but you just have to do it.
Mm-hmm. So with that, I actually do have something. It's called Eat Your Frog. And basically, if the hardest thing you have to do in a day is eat a frog, then that's the first thing you should do in the day. You sit down and you eat your goddamn frog. The same applies to writing. If it's the hardest thing you have to do in the day, like you're going to struggle with it, it's the first thing you should do in that day. Take a couple hours, first thing in the morning, before you do anything else, you sit down and write.
Especially because you can think about the rest of your day as a reward for getting through it.
Not even necessarily as a reward for getting through it. But if it's the first thing you do in the day, you have all your energy, both mental and physical, that you could just devote to writing.
And you won't have the excuse of, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'm too tired.
Exactly. And like that's the big thing that a lot of amateur writers fall into is they say, "Oh, I'm always so tired after work. I don't have time to write after work." Then don't write after work. Right before. That's what I started doing. When I wrote Drake, the first book in the Center of Magical Affairs series, I woke up at 6:00 in the morning. That is 2 hours before I have to start my commute for work, and I wrote for an hour. I've got 1,500 words done in an hour. And nowadays, I do 1,500 words in 20 minutes. So, hey.
My biggest problem is just staying focused in general. I get so distracted for every little thing. I'll write like a couple of sentences, and then I'm just, I've got sucked in by something else.
So for that, you have to craft your environment. So one big thing is I don't write on my desktop computer because that's where all my video games are. And if I'm writing on my desktop computer, I'm just going to go through like 1,500 words and go, I could keep writing, or I could play Final Fantasy 14.
Oh, God. That was a direct attack. Oh, my God.
I was straight in the heart.
The thing is that,
I will. I should take him to Starbucks with a laptop or something.
Well,
yeah.
So when I was really young,
not even Starbucks. You could just go to your kitchen table with a laptop.
When I was really young, I used to have an Asus Aspire 1 ebook, tiny little laptop that you could almost fit in the back pocket of most jeans, and that's what I did most of my writing on because the Wi-Fi chip on it was fried, so I couldn't get internet unless I plugged it in, and it basically just had OpenOffice on it.
There you go. That's how you do it.
And those laptops are like $200. I should probably just get one.
Yeah, I have a Chromebook. This thing is garbage for any serious work, but if I want to do my writing on it, yeah, it's perfect.
Well, I'm screwed because I literally only got like one room, and it's my bedroom, and it's got so much entertainment. I'm screwed.
So you got to go right in your grandma's house.
Just go to the kitchen table. Just go to the kitchen table.
You know, his apartment is one room.
Oh,
my entire house is one room. It is just a single room building.
It's a decent apartment. It's just it's
cozy as hell.
The only walls are around the bathroom.
Well, then you know what you must do.
You give you a thing. I have other advice for that, but go ahead.
No, you write on the bathroom. You write in the bathroom. You close the toilet seat. It becomes a chair.
Oh no, that door stays closed. The roaches started invading. I got to clean those out, and I don't want to.
Gross.
Yeah.
Eat your frog, Dileton. Eat your frog.
I'm not hungry.
What you got to do is you got to buy some scented candles, and you just burn one whenever you're supposed to be writing. So you start associating that with writing time.
Problem with that, I burn scented candles like literally every day.
Oh my god. Well, then like a special flavor of tea, just something unique that you just like start to associate with writing time.
If I were to give you any real advice, Dileton, it would be probably do it in your truck. Like, don't have your truck on. Just go sit in your truck. Just push your seat back.
Problem with that.
Oh my god.
Okay, well, the only reason I can't do that is because my truck is both a black exterior and interior, and I live in Florida.
We'll cook them.
Oh yeah.
See, I'm gonna actually interrupt you guys here because Dileton, you know what you're doing right now?
I'm not eating my frog.
Procrastinating.
You are making excuses to avoid eating your frog.
They seem like pretty solid excuses in my defense.
No, they're not. Because at the end of the day, you have to eat that frog. And if you're making excuses to avoid eating that frog, you know what you're doing?
Not eating the frog?
You're not eating the frog!
Phantom, you and I need to start just messaging Dileton pictures of frogs. All right. So, Dileton, I guess you need to ask a question now if we're going to go round table style.
Awesome. I get the talking stick. So there is one thing I wanted to ask you. Was any character in Lazy Scales based on somebody you knew in your personal life?
You suck.
Yes, actually. So Jeremy is based off of a conglomeration of my childhood friends.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, he's just like bits and pieces of all of them stitched into one Frankensteinian abomination.
So one of them tried to stab you?
Yeah, actually.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Oh, my childhood sucked.
That explains a lot about Jeremy. I felt like he flip-flopped a bit in the middle.
Well, I assume that you're writing Jeremy, and then you're like, what would so-and-so have done? And then you're like, oh, yeah, this, and then you write it out or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. It would be like, huh, what would he do in this situation? He'd fucking stab me.
Did as you were writing the books, after you finished the first one, did the second one get easier or did it get more hard? Did it get harder?
I actually wrote the second one in tandem with the first. So I wrote the first book and then went immediately into the second one.
Yes.
Yeah. This kind of feeds into one of my questions, so I'll just jump in here. I'm curious how much of the story for the first 6 or 12, possibly for like the entire arc, how much of the story did you have like set down in stone before starting the first book, and then like how much changed as you started going through it?
I had the first 3 books like completely plotted out before I started on the first book, and then I had the full 6 books plotted before I started on the third.
Okay, so you started reading book 1 without knowing about any of the spirit shenanigans with the Last Hope and all that.
Yeah, without knowing the big.
I actually had this conversation with Ray, probably in private, maybe on the podcast, but it's like, I feel like that's the best way to write a series, is to have an entire story and then find ways to neatly cut it into sections, and still have major conflict arcs and then resolutions, but essentially have your whole story planned out, because otherwise you end up like Bethesda Studios, where they forget their own lore and they have to rely on the fans to archive, every little bit of information.
I'm a strong supporter of plotting books rather than pantsing them.
Yeah, I hate pantsing. But like, so if I can go on like a tiny little tangent, I wrote a lot in high school. My freshman English teacher gave an assignment where, like, for the first semester, we had to write a short story or a novella. I don't know where the cutoff for page number is, but we had to write a big thing, and that kind of like sparked my love of writing, was having to sit down and do it for school. I was forced to eat the frog in that case. It's a terrible story now. I still have it printed out, and I look at it, I'm like, ugh, this is horrible. This is so cringe. But the point is like, that story I wanted to like write so many different times, like afterwards, like for the rest of my high school career. I kept going back, wanting to add on to it, but like I restarted the damn thing like 5 times, because I would get like 4 chapters in, like, wait a second, and then start over because I had a better idea on how something should work. And so just to me, it's like, I feel like to write my story, I need to know everything that's going to happen so that I don't run into that problem again and just start over and be like, fuck.
So I'm actually going to quickly jump onto a small tangent of my own here, based off something you said. You mentioned that you don't know what the cutoff is for page count between short story and novella. So in professional writing circles, nobody calculates by page count. So the problem with pages is that it's a variable number that can change. If you need more pages, you simply increase your margin size, increase your line spaces, increase your text size.
Right, they do word count.
Yeah, so everybody does it by word count, and the official minimum length of a novella is 20,000 words.
20,000 That's a lot of words.
I was gonna say
that feels like there can be some pretty long short stories out there.
Yeah, I've written some short stories that go up to like 16,000 words.
Yeah, I actually have some books that are a good example of that. I have one book that I really like. It's a collection of short stories, and the margins are like maybe like a quarter of an inch from the edge of the page, and the text is so compact and just meaty.
That feels claustrophobic.
It is. It was difficult to read, but it's also a really thick book, and I'm like, man, if they used margins like most books do nowadays, it would be a 3-book series.
I need to know, did you go through any like rewrite? I can't say the word. My R is stuck. Rewrites because of like changing your mind on something, like getting halfway through book 2 and be like, wait a minute, and then having to like scrap parts of it and start over?
I don't scrap things if it can be helped. My general philosophy with rewrites is, I made a mistake. Make a note in that chapter. I'll come back to that later. And then I typically do a full rewrite pass after I finish the initial manuscript. Okay. Yes, there have been several changes that needed to be made. For example, I introduced the crone in book 2 instead of just leaving her for book 3, because I felt it was relevant enough to introduce her in the epilogue. Like that was something I added to book 2. I did some rewrites to book 1 after finishing book 2, but after that I released the books too quickly to actually bother going back and rewrite.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's my fear. Release book 1 and then realize, wait a minute, I should have done this instead.
Yep. No, I've fallen into that trap quite a few times.
It's like I know it's not feasible, but it's like in the idealized version of how I'd release a book is if my book were going to be multi-series, which to the best of my knowledge it would just be 2 books, but I would write both of them out in completion and then submit them at the same time, or hold the other one off or whatever, because I'd be too afraid of like, oh shit, I changed my mind on a whole bunch of stuff.
At that point, you might as well just submit it as one book.
Yeah,
An omnibus.
I don't know if you.
No, not even an omnibus. Just literally one book. Just release it as a one supersized book.
One
Like,
200,000 word book.
I've seen bigger. I've seen bigger.
I mean, there's those coffee table books where you drop them and where you're going to break your furniture.
Well, no, because the first book of He Who Fights with Monsters is like 400,000 words long.
Ugh.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Like, that was like a 39-hour audiobook.
I mean, that's good bang for your buck with your Audible credit, though.
Yeah.
What were there any stories that you enjoyed as a kid? Any other books you read that like inspired Lazy Scales? Like, I know for a fact that the people who wrote Wings of Fire and Age of Fire, I believe they both said they were influenced by Anne McCaffrey's Dragons of Pern.
I've never actually read Dragon Riders of Pern, so I can't say that. So,
But like, was there something else?
Spyro.
Yeah.
I love Spyro. Spyro was my childhood thing.
Original or the Legend of?
Yes.
Okay.
I read
Spyro.
I played all of them. Spyro.
Did you ever play
Spyro.
Skylanders?
I did. I have a giant collection of Skylanders that are currently sitting in my great grandmother's like display cabinet where she used to hold all of her fine china.
I have almost every single one ever made, even the race.
I don't have almost every single one ever made. I played the first Skylanders game, took a break until Superchargers, where I was very reluctant to actually dip into like buying figurines again because I was burned the first time because I couldn't get Zap and I was so upset. And then Imagineers came in. I'm like, time to spend all my disposable income.
See, the trick is to be a manager at a GameStop at the time. Every time we got a shipment in, I'd be like, oh, look, we only got 4, not 6, and put 2 in the back.
Hey. There you go.
Phantom's got a problem.
So
No,
you were talking...
no. Collecting Skylanders is not a problem. It's a respectable hobby.
The fact that you needed one of every element and you can still get through the game with only dragons made me so happy that there's a dragon for every element. But anyway, so you were talking about, Ray was mentioning, inspirations. My inspiration for writing actually was not Dragon Riders of Pern, but the D&D books, the Choose Your Own Adventure. Almost every single one of them involved a dragon in some way. There was always an ending that had a dragon.
It's D&D, you have to.
Yeah.
It's like required.
And
Dragons and dragons.
As a kid, you do that thing where you have like, all your fingers in random parts of the book, because it's
you're spider clawing the book. Those were your quick saves.
It's like, do you help this poor man or do you walk on? It's like, well, I help him. He kills you. And it's like, well, going back.
Yeah, I didn't read a lot of those books because I didn't like that part.
Most of the Choose Your Own Adventures that I read were actually Animorphs. And the Goosebumps ones.
Goosebumps was my childhood.
Goosebumps was my childhood too. I think that's where I did most of my reading.
I never read any actual Goosebumps book, like a normal traditional book. They were all the Choose Your Own Adventure ones. Those are the only ones I ever read. Like, I know that's not actually scary because it's for kids, but I just don't like the horror genre so much that I just never bothered with any actual Goosebumps story.
Well, they're not meant to scare you. They're meant to give you goosebumps.
The point is, I just don't like the genre.
In for a scare.
I'm trying not to go off on tangents, but it's just reminding me of the Alone in the Dark TV show. Or Are You Afraid of the Dark? That's what it was.
Yeah.
I know you answered this on our Discord, but I'm going to ask it again just so we have it on audio for everyone else who's not part of the Discord. But from Beating Weens, why is it tradition for librarians to have an L in the name from the human tongue?
I was contriving a reason for them all to have L names.
Like, why do the dragons care about the human tongue?
They don't. It's a contrivance. I literally was contriving a reason for them all to have an L name. It's not a good reason, and I recognize that.
It is.
Ray slams his fist on the table. It should be for the dragon tongue. Why the human language? No one cares. English didn't even exist back then.
So I like creating characters, and in D&D I love kobolds, and I got into a teeny little joking argument with Ray because I was trying to name some kobolds, and I was like, I think kobolds should all stick to 4-letter names because I think it's adorable that a subservient race to dragons would all have short 1-syllable names. And he's like, you don't have to. He's like, you don't have to, huh?
That's my rule too. 1-syllable names for kobolds.
Yeah. And he's like, you don't have to, it's so limiting. And I'm like, I don't care. And I spent hours like Googling random words in other languages trying to find something that would fit.
I have a lot of kobold characters. So it's
so where's the kobold book?
As Chunk. It almost happened actually.
Well, what stopped it?
Other things. Other more important things. Also, kobolds are surprisingly done frequently if you know where to look for them.
Yes, but not with the point of view or the main character. They're usually always just on the side.
If you look for a kobold POV book, you'll find it.
Well, there's that one book that you mentioned, Ray, that you were scouting.
Yeah, that's like the one that I found so far. Well, there's another one, but I haven't read it yet because it doesn't have an audio format, and I have 10 times as much audio time than I do reading time, so I have to like pick and choose my non-audio books that I read.
Yeah. What else is the other? So Ray stole one of my questions. Dilettante stole one of my questions. I mean, it's fine. As one does. Okay, someone else.
I mean, I have more. I'm just trying to give you guys the chance. I'm not hogging the spotlight.
Go ahead while I think of more because
Dilettante, do you have one, or do you need time to think too?
You actually answered 2 of the 3 questions I had planned out. So
you only have 3. Just ask your last one to get out of the way then.
No, I asked the only one. You asked the other 2. All my 3 are done.
Oh, all 3. Okay, poor Dilettante.
Yeah.
Poor mundane Dilettante.
Shut up.
All right. You told me in private to, like, as a reminder, to ask you on the air why Rosestone was so naturally good at dragon stuff.
Yeah. I had an answer prepared too. Now I forgot what it was.
No.
Hey. So in Lewis's case, it was a mental block. Like, he could not get over the fact that, he's a dragon now, and like, for him, that mental block was actually keeping him from being better at dragon stuff. Like, have you ever like tried to do something, but you're so scared of doing it that it prevents you?
Constantly.
Every day.
Yeah, so that was what was keeping Lewis from being good at dragons. Lucy does not have this problem. For Lucy, she will always be extra at every chance she gets. So for her, being good at dragon stuff came a lot more naturally because she didn't have those mental blocks in place to keep her from practicing flight, from practicing fire breath, even ice breath at a certain point. Also, she's a bit more violent as a person than Lewis was, so she's just like, cool.
Heck yeah, she is.
Oh, cool. Animal. Awesome, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
And Lewis is just like, okay.
There's I do have a very tiny question. Well, it's not really a question, it's more of just a general compliment. So in, I think it was it book 2 or 3, the one where Last Hope ripped
4.
That was 4. Okay, so the part where they're coming across the portal and trying to figure out how to stop it, and Last Hope lures Lewis away. I was like, oh man, classic bullshit here. Like every movie, every game, you as the audience are like, no, don't do it. He's trying to distract you. And then Lewis is like, oh my God, you're trying to distract me, and leaves. And I was so happy. I like audibly went, yes. Like, I was just so happy that like when a character realizes, hey, you're trying to deceive me, instead of it. Oh, because almost every other thing is always like, the character's like, oh my God, how did I not see this? I got fully distracted, and the bad guy was able to carry out his plan.
So in Lewis's case, because he has crippling ADHD, he's a bit more aware when things are trying to distract him. Just by nature, he's a bit more self-aware about when he's being distracted.
Because you got to learn to watch out for that, I guess, huh?
Well, I mean, I get it. I get into conversations at work, and then I realize, like, hey, they're either trying to get information out of me to cause drama at work, or they're stopping me from doing my work. So I'm going to just find a way out of this conversation.
I'm going to ask a question from book 7, because I read book 7. They too haven't. So
Okay.
Spoilers.
Barely. The only thing I'm spoiling is that in book 7 the Kukulkan show up, and I just wanted to know like why you decided to design them that way. Like they're very wyvern-like rather than like traditional like Quetzalcoatl, very like serpently instead.
So I actually gave them more wyvern-like features because it felt wrong to me to just give all 4 dragons like distinct ancestries. I wanted them to have evolutionary lines that made sense. So with the case of the Kukulkan and the wyverns, they share ancestry because South America and Africa used to be connected, and those are their homelands. So those used to be one single like part of the same general area. So that's where their shared ancestor came from. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, wyverns are awesome.
Also,
wyverns are cool as long as you acknowledge that they're wyverns and you don't try to like shoehorn them into being other kinds of dragons.
but also Coatl are better than wyverns, so I was a little disappointed. I'll admit.
I mean, you can have that opinion. That's fine.
It's okay. That's fine. No, it's really okay. I was just curious, like, wait, why?
Yeah, it's an evolution thing. They have shared ancestry. I mentioned it before. I don't think I mentioned it on the podcast. I think somebody else might have. But my dragons are very much biological creatures first and magical creatures second.
Thank you.
So
thank you.
That's why there's a biological reason for like fire breath and stuff, and even ice breath has a biological reason.
I actually really like those details. I really do, because there has been like even in movies or whatever where it's just it's a 3D effect that comes out of the dragon's mouth. It doesn't come from any particular area. It's just dragons can breathe fire. And there was an episode we did on Drakan, the Ancient Gates, and the dragon learns magic spells that he can do fire, electric, ice, and it's like it's just magic, and magic always just seems like a really cheap excuse.
I enjoy both. It really depends on like the rest of the setting to go with it. Because like in Lazy Scales as well as in Age of Fire, the fire breath was a chemical reaction. Like in Age of Fire specifically, it was liquid fire, and I like the idea of liquid fire being projected rather than a gaseous kind of like flamethrower thing. But then you have stuff like Mating Flight where it's magic. Like they use their astral self to just magically breathe an element from their mouth, and it's like it works in both settings, and it just depends what you want to go for.
Yeah, because in Skyrim it's words. It's a magic spell that you're speaking in the form of a shout, so they don't actually have any glands that produce fire. It's just their words are fire.
That makes perfect sense.
My words are fire too.
Yeah, they're just dropping their hot mixtapes. Their rhymes are so fire they light the world alight. I don't know. Cut that out.
But
I don't know. I feel like we should leave the terrible joke in there.
Okay.
But no, I guess that kind of just bleeds into like my magic systems that I like are usually ones based around like an old archaic tongue, like the first language of the world or the language of the gods or whatever. It's like those are the words you have to learn to be able to cast your spells and whatnot, which is really close to Skyrim's dragon tongue or whatever. And
Dova.
Yeah, I guess that is segueing into. Can you tell us more about the magic system that you came up with?
I can do that.
Like
so
limitations and whatnot.
Yeah, so the magic system for Lazy Scales is I wanted basically for creatures who can do magic to it's something that technically anybody can learn, even though there are some dragons that are more adept at it than others, more naturally adept at it. And B, it needed to have rules and connections to not just dragons, but to the Fae. The Fae have to have similar rules, if not identical rules. And basically what I came up with was souls are a resource. So it's not explained in the main series, but it is touched upon in Arc 2. The soul is a container, and it can be filled and it can be emptied. But it could also be damaged, which we do see multiple times. And when a soul is damaged, that's when it starts collapsing. Anyway, basically, to use magic, you have to be able to reach into your soul, pull out some of the magic within, and use it and shape it. So a dragon sorcerer like Becca is just a bit more effective. Is just they are more naturally able to reach into their soul and pull out their magic. That is the only thing really distinguishing them from anybody else who wants to learn magic.
Okay,
so
if I can jump in with a quick question,
yeah.
what does that mean? Does that mean dragon sorcerers if we're gonna gamify it with game terms, the soul is basically the mana pool. Do dragon sorcerers have a larger mana pool, or is it just easier to use it?
It's just easier for them to use it.
Okay.
So technically speaking, if we want to compare the mana pool between, I call it aura in the series. The aura pool from Lewis to Becca. Lewis's aura pool is significantly larger. He just doesn't have the training necessary to dip into it and use it.
Okay.
Yeah. Because cool. I know what common complaint is. Why does Lewis not get magic, but Becca does?
I know that was like my big thing when that happened.
Yeah. So Becca's thing is that she has primary training in how to use magic before turning into a dragon. So because of that, she became a sorceress instead of just outright becoming a normal-ass dragon. Lewis, A, didn't know he has magic. B, doesn't know he can access it. So he was just turned in, and also last up trying to steal his body. So he doesn't get to... He can learn to use magic, but it'll be a process for him because he doesn't like learning.
Yeah.
But that sounds like work.
Yeah, in Lewis's word, rolls on back, sticks out legs. That sounds like work!
The amount of mood that in the first two books, I loved it. The every time that Last Hope had to train him, I was like, this is too real.
Uh-huh.
But it's like, for a mundane person, it's like reading this book, you'd be like, man, I'd love to learn all this stuff about dragon history and learning spells. But, when you're in the moment and it's like, oh God, no.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Because it all sounds really cool, but then when you sit down and listen to Last Hope drone on and on, your eyes glaze over and you stare off into the distance and you think to yourself, huh?
I don't know. I feel like I'd be the student.
I want to pillage that town.
I'd feel like I'd be the student that's sitting there like enthralled, but with Last Hope, like, oh, tell me more.
Yeah, but you also miss high school.
I do miss high school.
I actually kind of miss.
Who the hell misses high school?
Okay, first of all, I love learning, so there was that, and then second, I feel like high school's structure, helped keep me on track. Like I've never been diagnosed, but I feel like I might have a mild ADD something, and so just high school structure helped keep me on track, so I could actually stick to things and do them. Like the only time I've ever actually written something like physical I can hold in my hand is the really cringe story from high school. Every time I've tried after that, it's always been like I get a little bit in, then I either lose interest or hate it and delete it or whatever.
You should never delete anything you write. Just save it as an unnamed Word document, shove it into a folder somewhere, and come back to it later.
Yeah. That's something that I started doing.
That's actually really good advice because I do the same thing. I'll start writing something, get like 3-4 pages in, and go, yeah, I'll pick this up tomorrow, and then I don't, and then because the way Open Office works is I close it, and whenever you try to open the app again, it's like, hey, you didn't save this thing. Do you want me to recover it? And I'm like, no.
Yeah, just save it, give it a whatever name, just shove it into a folder and leave it alone. I have like over a dozen like half-started projects that are just a couple paragraphs long because I thought the idea was cool, and I just never went anywhere with it.
Yeah, I've started keeping a Word document on my Google Drive so I can access it on my phone also, of every like random thought, whether it's a storyline or a single scene. I've started keeping them there.
Think of them as your writing doodles.
Yeah, basically. It's my repository.
Yeah, but I doodled 166 pages of pure cringe back in the 6th grade. I'm sorry, but that shit had to be deleted.
I wanted to read it.
No.
So, Dan, I'm sure you heard maybe on a previous episode, maybe not, I don't know, that I wrote a book when I was young.
I believe I remember hearing you mention that, yeah.
Yeah, I had, so I talked to my mom just recently and to get more information because she remembers it more vividly than I do. I actually had a publishing deal with Tor, and they, I wrote, I think it was about 650 pages. And I submitted it, and they sent it back, and they said that they wanted a couple little changes here and there for content. They wanted me to then resubmit it with these changes. And at that time, my mother was so excited that I could have a published book at like 17 years old that she bought me a new computer. And
okay, so that makes a lot more sense.
At the time, I had gotten really good grades in middle school, and my school had just upgraded all of their Macintosh computers with iMacs, the pastel bubble things. And so they were giving away the old Macintoshes to students who wanted them. And I ended up getting one. And that's what I wrote the story on. No internet, so no distractions. And when she bought me a brand new PC, it was a compact Presario, garbage. But she bought me a new PC, and I saved the story onto a 3.5-inch floppy and got rid of the Mac. And then when I put the floppy into the PC, it formatted the disk and lost the whole thing. And it's funny because I still remember. The thing was I remember being in shock for like a whole 24 hours, just like, no, because the Macintosh was gone. It was long gone. And I remember being briefly depressed, but then remembering, like, I wrote the damn thing. I can do it again. And I still remember the entire story, and I know I could rewrite it. It's just now in this information age where you have internet and video games and everything else. And it's like, it's so hard to start again. But I did really like that story, and I am trying to rewrite it.
Well, it sounds to me like you need to eat that frog.
Yeah. The first time you told the story, you said that like the publisher gave you money, like money down or like a whatever, and that's what you bought the computer with. I'm pretty sure that's what you said, because I remember thinking, there's no way that would happen. They would come after you if you lost it.
Well, again, I did talk to my mother because I wanted to figure out, because I talked to her about it because I wanted to know what publishing company, because it was a fantasy publishing company. They had published a lot of the books that I went, and that's why I submitted it to them. And she said it was Tor, the ones that wrote a lot of the books that I had, because I still have boxes of books back in my mom's attic that, when I moved out of the state, I needed to keep things light. So
just think of the timeline where you actually managed to get that published.
Yeah. And the thing is that I wrote the book specifically because even as a 17-year-old kid, I was aware of merchandising and marketing. And so I made the character something that could be merchandised. And, the way I describe certain abilities the character had in the book, because when I was a little kid, you used to buy like Batman action figures, and none of these Batman ever appeared in any comic or whatever. It was just, how can we turn Batman into an aquatic themed Batman or a space themed Batman? It was just Batman with a bunch of stupid accessories. And that's what I was going with my character in the book, is this character with a bunch of stupid accessories.
That sounds really funny, actually.
So are we going to get Lazy Scale toys?
No, I do not have any plans to create Lazy Scales toys. I looked into it. It's the design process alone is so expensive, and I just don't have the money for it.
Gee, like a light projector for Last Hope on your ceiling. That'd be so amazing. Have like a ghost dragon watching over you. I'd buy that.
That's what you actually want. Last Hope does not have your best intentions at heart. I don't think you actually want that.
I mean, I still like Dad Hope, okay? I'm still mad about that.
You did him dirty.
He had an amazing character arc as far as I'm concerned, because for the most of the book you're kind of on the fence, and then you start to warm up to him, and then there's that betrayal.
Dude, I warmed up hard.
Yeah, and it was the perfect way to write a character, because at first you're like, I don't know if I hate him for this, because being turned into a dragon for most people doesn't sound like the worst thing in the world, but you're not really sure if you want to hate him because of that. So you're kind of warming up to him, and then he's, treating you like, a son, and he's being nice, and he's softening up, and you start to really like Last Hope. And then there's that soul rip betrayal, and it's like, holy shit.
Mm-hmm. Last Hope always had the capacity to do it. He just tried to not do it. And then he sees his life's work culminating before him, and the one person he thought he could trust is trying to stop him from fulfilling it. Well, out come the big guns.
I still didn't like it, but that's just me. That's just a difference in where I thought the story should have gone. So it's whatever.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing.
I'm gonna write my own Lazy Scales.
Yeah, okay. Here's the thing that I have to explain to a lot of people when they bring this up, that they didn't like this moment. You are not supposed to like this moment. You are supposed to feel grossed out and betrayed and hurt. And the fact that you are reacting to this way means I did my job right.
Yeah. I have told Ray that this book gave me emotional moments, a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And it's like, if you are reading a book and you have to put it down and, you know, wipe your eyes or take a deep breath or get some air, like that is a powerful thing that the book has done. And there are so many books that you can open and read cover to cover and just be like, that was a pretty good book, and toss it down. You know, like that book failed. And the fact that there was at least 3 or 4 moments in almost every single one of these books that hit me hard. You know, it's like, I don't like feeling that way, but I feel better after. You know, like I'm like, hey, this book gave me emotions, which for me is much more powerful than most people, because usually books don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that one TikTok meme says, to really get people, you have to give them emotional damage.
Emotional damage. I love him.
He's great.
So I guess I'll use this to segue into something I just thought of. Because if you remember from the episode where we talked about Kindled Flames, my favorite part, chapter 24.
Yes, you really like chapter 24.
Oh my god, I love chapter 24. I could probably spend an hour discussing about it, but the point is, I enjoyed reading that. That was my favorite part. I loved it. Was there any part that you loved? Like, what was your favorite part to write?
My favorite part to write in the series.
In chapter 24 specifically.
No, in the whole series.
The rest of this interview will be about chapter 24. Buckle in.
Oh god.
I need to get a sticker for the Discord server that's just me with like chapter 24 like on a card or something.
Oh my god. Book 5, chapter 24. My favorite part to write in the series. Okay. The confrontation with Lambton at the end of book 2 is probably my favorite sequence in the entire book.
That was also pretty good. I love the nonchalant chomp at the end. It's so disappointing.
When I originally plotted out of the book, I'm like, oh man, it'd be really funny if I built up this magical dagger that can kill any dragon in a single strike, and this immortal dragon slayer that can only be killed by a dragon, and then neither of those things work. Because I've had a lot of people message me as they're reading book 1 going, or like halfway through book 2 going like, oh, a magical dagger that can kill a dragon in a single hit? That sounds like poor writing. And then they get to that chapter where Lambton stabs Lewis and goes, huh, he should be dead now. And they go, oh. And I'm like, that's the reaction I was looking for. So, yeah, I really enjoyed writing that.
I also want to compliment Lambton as a character in general. I really liked him. It's one of the character tropes I like the most about a very calm, collected, cool-headed, essentially villain, I guess. You know, like, I know he's not, you know, if you were to think of it in black and white terms, you know, I guess he's a villain, but obviously characters are shades of gray. But I really liked him. And when he came back as a ghost, I love that even more. I was so happy to see him back. When he died, I was like, damn.
Yeah, Lambton was always one of those characters that I was like, I want him to be a villain, but he's not. He doesn't see himself as a villain, and he doesn't comport himself as one. He's here to protect people.
Well,
at the end of the day,
he sees himself as the villain.
Well, yeah, but Lambton specifically sees himself as a hero.
But like, don't most villains see themselves as the hero of their own story?
In a way, yeah. But like, Lambton lives up to the fantasy of being a hero. He's a stereotypical dragon slayer.
I'm sorry. Like, there will always be a soft spot in my heart for certain whatever things, but there's always a what would the opposite be? A hard spot in my heart for dragon slayers. Like, I always gonna just dragon slayer.
Dragon slayers.
Well, I mean, even then, if you ask anybody who's read, you know, more than 100 books in their life, like, if you were to draw a dragon slayer, what would you draw? I guarantee almost every single one of them would draw some dude in fantasy armor with a big axe or big sword.
They draw St. George.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't think anybody would think to draw essentially like James Bond with a dagger. And just that alone just exudes so much cool suaveness. It's one of the many reasons I really liked him.
So actually, funny story. Lambton has a bit of a hidden backstory that I didn't get to explore in the main series. But he does have a stereotypical Dragon Slayer tale. Basically, his relationship with the Crones started when he was a young man in his 18, 20 years old. And the dragon that was stealing bricks attacked his home.
So he hoarded his home?
The dragon hoarded his family's keep, basically.
That's adorable, though.
Yeah. That's why I don't know if I uses that one as a specific reference, is because he's personally dealt with that dragon.
I don't know if I could be mad at a dragon for hoarding something like bricks. I'd probably even help him get more, even if it meant my house got destroyed.
Humans are just inherently racist, so you had to fight the dragon.
Yeah, humans don't like things that they don't understand. And there's this dragon that's just hoarding a ton of bricks in a well. What do we do?
But, shit, what was I going to say? I forgot.
That's good.
No, it wasn't, because it was relevant to the last question.
I thought of like 4 more relevant questions, so I just like jotted them down real fast. Like, all right, I need to make sure I don't forget these. But like, because I just asked you what your favorite part to write was. I was going to ask what your least favorite, like, what was a slog to get through?
Least favorite part to write,
or if there was one, like, was anything like a struggle or a slog? Like, I just got to do this.
Not really. So the way I engineered the first arc was that if I thought that a part was boring to write or I didn't enjoy it, that meant that there was something wrong with it and people wouldn't like reading it. So I made sure to basically weed out sections like that in the plotting process.
I remembered what I was going to say, which is, again, not a question, more of a compliment, but still wanted to bring it up. The way you handled human interaction with the dragons in this book made me really happy, because I've ranted about it in some of our very early episodes, where every book I've been forced to read for this podcast where humans are involved, they're almost always just like, dragons, kill them, because we don't understand them and we hate them. And because humans, if they can't control or dominate something, it must be destroyed. And every dragon book, like Age of Fire and whatever, the humans are almost always like, dragon, kill it. That's their first instinct. And when you involve humans in a dragon story, it's almost always adversary. And in this one, the humans are like, all right, dragons showed up. We need to figure out what to do. Let's talk with it. Let's figure out a plan to make sure that this tragedy doesn't happen again. And I really like that.
I mean, to be fair, Martha wanted to be like, ew, dragon, kill it. It was Grace. I was like, no, let's talk to it.
But that was one person, Grace, not all of humanity.
Also, Grace was less, let's talk to it, and more, how can I monetize this?
This will be great for my career.
Like old time human, kill the dragon. Modern day human, profit off the dragon.
Grace really looked at the dragon and said, what a wondrous day for capitalism.
I'm gonna, all right, so Mr. Gilmore.
Yeah. I'm
gonna make you choose your favorite child.
Oh no.
What's your favorite character?
It's line them all up in front of him. Pick your favorite.
Okay, it's an Arc 2 character. Picks up Windcutter, puts him in the good boy corner.
Okay, Windcutter is such a good boy, though.
Yeah.
Bantam, Windcutter is the character that I know you're gonna fall in love with if you ever read Arc 2.
Yeah, I love Windcutter. I was disappointed in myself that I didn't have a chance to put a character like that in Arc 1. So I'm like, okay, Arc 2, we're doing this. First new character that's getting introduced.
So boom. This may or may not get cut because I don't know if it's considered spoilers or not, but like when I finished book 6 and I looked to book 7, 2 things put me off of it really hard. And it's like, I'm not reading that. Like, I love Lazy Skills, but this is where it ends. I'm not reading anymore. One was it's all about Becca. And the second thing was it's time travel. And I just don't like time travel stories because it's just such a can of worms.
Yeah, I was very careful with time travel personally.
I've only read book 7. I haven't read the rest, so I don't know like how the rest of the pieces fall into place. But so far, it was handled pretty decent. Like considering it was a time travel story, it was pretty good.
Yeah. I respect that people don't like time travel stories, and frankly, I wasn't too keen on writing a time travel story initially. I couldn't think of a better way to explore the ancient dragon civilizations.
Yeah, that's fair. because I was gonna like say like I forgive you for writing time travel because it got me Windcutter.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I was gonna say like why aren't there any other dragon types now in modern day? But it's like I guess Last Hope would not make anything besides worms. So yeah.
That's the only kind of dragon he's intimately familiar enough with to make.
Imagine if the African dragons just turned into wyverns though, and the South American are just Kukulkan.
Yeah, don't work that way, sadly.
And Last Hope's like, wait a second, this isn't right.
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Also, he's trying to avoid another Tribor, so...
Yeah. This is like personal headcanon, because like I said, I've only read book 7. Personal headcanon, when they fix the timeline, it's going to not be an exact 1-to-1, and we're going to have the other tribes in the modern day now. Yep, that's my headcanon. Don't confirm or deny it. I'm just spouting stuff.
Okay.
Although that's not what happens, I'm going to come back at you like, missed opportunity, man! But yeah. Do you think that was too spoilery? Should I cut the part about the time travel?
No, that's in the synopsis. I don't think that's too much information.
Okay. All right.
And Windcutter is introduced really early on, so I don't think it's too much information to talk about it.
And like it could be like not a warning, but like to the rest of you who are like me and don't like Becca and or don't like time travel, it's worth it.
It's funny.
As much as I hate Becca, it's worth it. You get Windcutter.
I think you're kind of alone in your hatred of Becca.
Which is surprising. I guess it's not that surprising, but it makes me feel like,
when I saw Becca on the cover drawn, like I could finally see, because I'm not good with physical descriptions. I've always had like a thing like your book didn't do it. Thank you for this. But like there have been books where they'll introduce a new character and they spend 3 pages describing what he's wearing and how he stands, and it's like, okay, I got it. But with Becca, when I saw her on the cover and I'm like, oh my God, she's got the same haircut as me, shaved on one side and the flop hawk on the other. And I was like, oh my God, I am Becca. And I kept telling Ray, I was like, oh my God, I love Becca. She's basically me. And this was before I found out about it. And he's like, no, you're Jeremy. And I'm like, no, I want to be Becca. And he's like, you can't be Becca. You don't understand.
Do you still love Becca now that you've read the books?
Yeah, I still like
Yeah, so that's the thing. That's why Becca is the main character of Arc 2, is because most people who've read the series and talked to me about it, they love Becca. And I'm like, okay, well, people clearly want more Becca, so...
I still stand by the character, and you did fix it, like, for me. Not that he needed fixing. I mean, it's your book and your characters, but I hated Jeremy. You're
supposed to. You're supposed to hate Jeremy in the first 2 to 3 books.
Yeah, he was such an annoying. I was like, oh, just shut the fuck up. And then he recovered.
Yeah, it's called character development. You're supposed to hate him.
and so every time when we first started this book series, before we ever even met you and started talking to you on the Discord, like I was like, I hate Jeremy so much. I love Becca. I want to be Becca. If I were in this book, I'd be Becca. And Ray was just cringing, like, no, you can't.
I'm crying right now. I'm crying.
Ray's in the corner crying.
Well, because there was
turning into Becca.
Well, the problem is that there were so many reasons he wanted to give me why you can't be Becca for this to work, because this was more of just like a silly little, like, if you were in this universe, like if you were one of these characters, who would you be, kind of thing. And when I was like, I'd be Becca and not Jeremy, and he's like, no, this doesn't go with what I want.
For that was in the first episode.
Oh yeah.
And then everybody just unanimously agrees that Dilatan is Brandon.
Yeah. Even Dilatan agrees.
Yeah.
But yeah, Becca. I'm so sad I'm the only one in the world who hates her.
You're probably not the only one in the world, but
there are people who dislike her, but like no one to the degree that you dislike her.
Well, did he ever tell you why though?
Yeah, we talked about it in private.
He messaged me privately. That was like the first private message we exchanged, was him trying to be like, why do you hate Becca? And I'm like, oh God. Okay, like try not to offend the author, but here's why. And he's like, oh, okay, no, I get that.
Yeah. Ray took
to recap for any listeners who are just listening to this episode because they just want to hear the interview or whatever. I don't like Becca because she felt like a Mary Sue. And she only really feels that way because I love Lewis so much and I actually identify with Lewis. And I went into this series expecting it to be the Lewis story. And then halfway through, Becca just comes in like, look what I can do, and just upstages everything.
Yeah, he always would tell me while we were at work talking about the book, he would always tell me that it felt like Lewis kind of got a slap in the snout, like, no, down. And then someone would like lift up Becca, like, "Oh, you precious child."
Oh, it's
and
it's the meme from Simpsons with the sheep where it's like,
Yep.
"Aw,"
Yes.
slaps Lewis.
That's exactly what it felt like. And so I read book 1 and book 2 and then stopped for a while because those were the only 2 that were audiobooks at the time. And then I was just kind of waiting on the rest of them because I was under the impression that the audiobooks would come, like the other 4 audiobooks would come within like 6 months total. And
no, they take a long time to produce.
The point is, that's why I stopped at book 1 and book 2. So at that point in time, I was like, Lewis is amazing. I love Lewis. I'm Lewis. I wish I could be Lewis. And at the time, book 1 and book 2, Becca is completely fine. She's okay in those books. She hasn't gone down the dark side yet. But then when I went back and I actually finished the series, I was like, oh my God, what did they do to you, my poor baby boy, Lewis?
I have a question. I know for a fact you already answered this question off the podcast, but my brain is full of holes. So this is about the narrator for the audiobook portion. Do you find them, or do they do?
Who approaches who?
Yeah,
I put out the call for auditions. They come to me with auditions.
Okay, so I want you, if you talk to him, I want you to send him this episode, because I have listened to a bunch of audiobooks for this podcast. No one has done as good a job narrating as he has.
Yeah, no, he's fantastic.
He was
every voice.
Does,
you finish.
Every voice was distinct and very and consistent. And the only one other person had a decent narration, and that was the Dragon Hack series. But there are so many narrators where it literally just feels like they're just like laying in bed with a book above them and just reading it. And it's like they have no energy. And this guy not only had the energy, but as we mentioned in a previous episode, like when a character yells, you feel like he actually gets up away from his mic and yells from across the room. And it's amazing.
That's the thing that I want to call out, because I've listened to like 5 times as many audiobooks as him, because I love reading and I'm scouting a bunch of whole things to figure out what we can do for the show. There are several narrators that I have loved, and for different reasons, but out of all of them, I'm so bad with names, so I'm sorry, but this
His name
one
is Byron Hagen.
Okay, so Byron Hagen is the only one I have found so far that has actually put the effort in to yell when the character yells. Everyone else will just like raise their voice louder to make it sound like they're yelling, because I guess they don't want to yell into their mic or whatever. But it sounds somehow he either moves away from the mic and yells across the room, or will just flat out yell into the mic and then just go into editing and lower the volume down so he doesn't blow out your ears. But he's the only one who's bothered to do that to get the actual like quality of your voice that you get when you yell.
I can't speak for other narrators, but I think Byron actually has like a private recording studio, so he's actually able to yell without like bothering other people.
Yeah, I don't know the circumstances, but just out of all the narrators that I've listened to, he's the only one that's done that, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so
I'll let him know that you guys like him.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so basically, seeing as you put out a call for auditions and you found a diamond, and I'm really happy.
When Bantam writes his book, he's getting Byron to read it.
Yep.
Byron will be very thankful for the work.
No, he just needs to write his book first.
Yep.
That's more motivation, though.
Eat your frog, Bantam.
To hear him say some of the yes.
So actually, so when I actually got Byron's initial like audition, I was very impressed with it. But because the crone is such an interesting character, I had to make sure that Byron was right to handle the crone. So I actually handed him a couple extra tidbits from the series, specifically featuring the crone. And it's coming out in the audiobook that's being released very soon, like within the next couple weeks or so. But you know the scene where the crone says, "Oh, sweetie, Baba Yaga wishes she was on my bullshit"?
Yep.
Yes, I love
He hits the line perfectly.
That's Bantam's favorite line.
It was one of my because in your mind the way that it's this hunched over old lady, super hook nose, just super old and magic and whatever.
I still imagine the witch from Snow White when she goes old lady style.
That's what it is. That's what she's supposed to be.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect.
Yes.
So you picture her, and then you just picture her doing that like hand wave thing, like, "Oh baby, Baba Yaga wishes she was on my bullshit."
The Z snap.
Does he snap? Yeah. And it's like, oh my God, I audibly laughed and I had to put the book down. I remember taking, because when I read in my bed to be away from my computer. And I have my phone next to me, and whenever there's a quote that I really fucking love or hate, I'll take a picture of it and crop it down and send it to Ray and be like, look at this. And and I sent him that one. I was like, that's great. I love it.
Yeah. So that it was very important to me that Byron was able to hit that line perfectly. And wow, did he hit that line perfectly.
You need to ask him how many takes did he have to do to get it.
I think he did it in one take.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Because it was just an audition. So, like, you know. But yeah, no, he did a great job. Like, you guys heard the crone at the end of audiobook 2.
Mm-hmm.
He does a good job with the crone.
He does.
Uh-huh.
I love his last hope voice. I can't wait to see what he does with Rocktooth. Who is
I'm
my
very
husband.
I'm very excited to hear him handle Rocktooth as well.
I hope he does an Ozzy Osbourne impression, or tries to.
Well, no, because Rocktooth's not English. He's just really. He's based off of a combination of.
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you what band Ample-Teeth was based off of.
Oh, Imagine Dragons.
Of course.
Like, come on. Like, I shouldn't have to explain that. You have this over-the-top frontman who just really likes to be a positive role model for people. Like,
well, the thing is, I don't know anything about bands beyond the music they put out. I don't know the band members' names, and I don't know how they interact with fans. So it's whatever.
I have to look up his name because I could never actually remember it. But
I know their logo and I know the music, and that's it.
Yeah. Imagine Dragons.
Like if I because I
Dan
don't
Reynolds, that's his name.
Okay.
Rocktooth is very much based off of Dan Reynolds.
Awesome. Like my best guess, since I don't know how these people act, because I'm a very surface level fan, just like, hey, I like this song, great. My best guess for what Ample-Teeth is based off of, just from quality of music, was going to be My Chemical Romance.
Wrong, actually, strictly because of how much Becca likes them. But no. So the reason why I based Rocktooth off of Dan Reynolds is because Dan Reynolds is very much, he strives to be an extremely positive role model and uses his position as a frontman for a very popular band to raise awareness of important issues. There was literally a concert that he did where there was I think it was like a cancer patient or something. He brought them on stage and they sang a song together, and it was really important for that kid.
That's real sweet.
Yeah, and that's the character I wanted Rocktooth to be.
I do like it. I do like it when musical artists are not complete dicks, like off the mic.
Yep. I do want to say though, Proto Rocktooth was based off of Kanye West. There's a reason I didn't go with that.
Yeah,
because
I can see that.
I wanted people to like Rocktooth, not hate him.
I love Rocktooth. Okay, so I made you pick your favorite child. Now I have to make you pick your least favorite.
My least favorite child. Oh boy.
Before you answer that, though, I do have one question for you. What was your favorite child in the first arc?
In the first arc, my favorite
First
child.
6 books.
Yeah, so you can't pick Wind Critter, I guess.
No, it's Rocktooth.
Yep.
Yeah, Rocktooth.
Yeah. Like I said, I specifically engineered Rocktooth to be the best boy. And then I ripped him apart and ruined his dreams.
I was gonna say, Ray scribbling down notes on crimes you've committed. I'm saving this for the end of the show. I'm saving this list.
Do you imagine that Rocktooth, like in a world where he didn't kill his band, but are you imagining that he would like paint himself up like
body paint?
Body paint.
Oh, absolutely. So Rocktooth, like in a perfect world where bad things didn't happen, which is not my world by any stretch of the imagination, he would absolutely be just a super famous, lovable guy. Everybody loves him. He does his own pyrotechnics.
It's like bad things should happen, but they should happen to Becca.
Bad things happen to Becca. Don't worry.
It's still coming, I guess. I need to continue on reading.
All right. So anyway, yeah, no dodging the question.
I can feel you struggling not to spoil things for me.
In the first arc, so you said
Rocktooth. So your least favorite child.
Your least favorite child.
Okay. Oh boy, this is hard. My least favorite child. See, the easy answer is first choice and last hope. Those are the easy choices. However, I feel like those are also cop-outs.
Because you wrote last choice, not last choice. First choice to be a punching bag.
Yeah, I wrote him to be a piece of shit that no one likes.
And good job, because I fucking hate him.
Kidding.
I guess in the first arc, my least favorite child is probably... I guess I probably didn't treat Brandon nicely, did I?
What the fuck did you do to Brandon? He did not deserve all the mundane. He needed
Poor mundane Brandon.
Poor
Yeah.
mundane Brandon.
I really did Brandon dirty. I know
Yeah.
I gave him like a good epilogue, but I really didn't do right by Brandon. So I guess by virtue of things that happened, Brandon's the least favorite child.
Brandon always seemed to me like a character that kind of came in and went, "What the fuck is happening here?" and then would wander off.
That's what he did, though.
He's just kind of there.
That was his role, to be poor mundane Brandon.
Yeah, but he rocked it though.
He did rock it.
He was great at being poor mundane Brandon.
The fight with the fight with Tartarus was absolutely amazing, where they're like, and I loved the fact that you explained why Lazy Scales couldn't manifest a gun and fire it. He just made like
Jeremy
a lump of
make a gun.
or it made a lump of useless metal because he doesn't know how guns work as intricately as Brandon does.
Yeah,
Brandon summoning tanks and assault rifles.
Imagining knowing the engineering of a tank.
Yeah, so that's the thing about Brandon. That's the thing about Brandon is that he's secretly probably smarter than Jeremy. Like a considerable amount. Like he's incredibly smart. He's ridiculously intelligent, but he's quiet and keeps to himself.
As most smart people do.
No, but like he maintains the facade of just being the big, dumb, strong farm boy, when in actuality the boy's an engineer. Like he's in university to be an engineer. That's what he gets at the end of the series. He goes to university. He's becoming an engineer. He's very, very smart, and he will probably go work for Lockheed Martin when he graduates.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, like, I gave him a good epilogue.
As like a parting gift. I'm sorry what I did to you.
Yeah, pretty much. He gets to be poor mundane Brandon, but he's at least going to be poor mundane rich smart Brandon.
Consolation prize.
Yeah.
Can't be a dragon, you can be a rich human instead.
Yep.
So tell us about the Netflix adaptation and the movies that are coming out.
I don't have any of that coming, unfortunately.
Why?
So here's the thing. I had actually entertained the idea of pitching the series to Netflix for an animated, series.
Back when they were greenlighting everything.
Thank you for calling Netflix your greenlit.
Yeah. And then they canceled Wings of Fire, and I was like, well, there goes my chance.
Yeah, like, I love your book better than Wings of Fire, but if Wings of Fire gets canceled, you don't stand a chance.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to not do that.
I feel I completely agree with Ray in the sense where your book is better than Wings of Fire. Wings of Fire has started to feel to me like Care Bears, but dragons. And
I have
if Care Bears rip each other's limbs off, yeah.
Well, yeah, so, I mean, there's
if you'll
violence.
Permit me to divulge something real fast. Wings of Fire is good until book 11.
I like book 11 because I like Blue. But
that's
it's good.
That's totally fair. Blue is a good boy. But
it's good until book 13.
Yeah. No, book 14 is really bad. So actually, that's a really good segue into. I mentioned before how I cut out sections that I didn't enjoy writing.
Hmm?
Wings of Fire 14 feels like a book that 2E.T. Sutherland didn't want to write.
So did 15, though, honestly.
Yeah, well, I felt like she was done with the whole thing at that point. Anyway, we're not here to discuss 2E.T. Sutherland. We don't want to talk about another author behind their back because that's rude.
No, I honestly, like, I joked with Ray. I was like, we should see if we can get her to do an interview. But at the same time, it's like
contacting her agent.
It will. At the same time, even if all the stars aligned and we were able to do it, I don't know if I'd be comfortable in that call because I would just be like, why?
They would listen to some of our episodes to see what kind of content we put out and the amount of sexual jokes we do. She'd be like, no.
Yeah, because she's contracted through
Scholastic, yep.
Which writes young child books.
Yeah. Young, violent child books.
Children can handle violence.
Well, here's the thing. I at least recognize that my books are violent and bloody. I market them to young adults.
Yeah,
I love how bloody your books are, though.
Yeah.
If I could take okay, I'm going to make a confession here. If I could take it back, if I could go back in time and do it again, I would tone down the gore because I recognize that not everybody is as desensitized to violence as I am. Yeah. I grew up with horror movies. That was my thing. I watched Jaws when I was 8 years old and I loved it.
Here's the thing with me, and I think I mentioned it before, which is if I'm watching a horror movie like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I can watch a chainsaw go through a person. It doesn't bother me at all. Because I recognize watching this that it's this character and this character doing things to each other. But when I'm reading a book, I can't help but put myself there, like I'm witnessing this, and suddenly I just don't feel, or it's happening to me, and it makes me nauseous. But yeah, you don't lie about your books being, tame or whatever, and it's like, because in the Age of Fire books, the intro from the author was, I wrote this book for kids, and then it just starts with the first few chapters.
I found that a lot of kids are reading my vampire series, and that's not meant for kids. So I'm going to write this thing that's more suited to them. Baby murdering baby.
In chapter 3, the dragon literally eats a child.
Yeah, it's like, this is not
super early. It's not chapter 3, but yeah,
It happens. It happens. I've read Age of Fire as well, so I do know.
So the amount of times listening to the audiobook while we were at work, and I'd look up and go, "Children's book."
Yeah. The thing is, like, there are certain things that I love to see in books, not because it's like I like get off on the violence or whatever. It's not that. It's that I like it being acknowledged. Like, here are some facets of life that I don't agree are always like swept aside. Like, one of them I'm not allowed to say on the show because one of the rules, but like violence is another one. Like, dragons kill people and eat meat. That happens, and I'm happy that you like address that. It got phased out because they're trying to live in harmony with the humans, but at the beginning it was there. It happened, so I'm glad it was acknowledged, and like, yes, thank you for not just ignoring it.
No, so my modus operandi with Lazy Scale specifically was to not shy away from the reality of what this situation would entail. And if a dragon is going crazy with hunger, they are going to hunt humans because humans are stupid and easy to catch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that is the reality of the situation. Exactly, that is the reality of the situation. Is that dragons are a perfect apex predator, and I'm sorry, but despite what humans like to think about themselves on the food chain, they are the perfect prey. They're slow, they're clumsy, they're very stupid. Like, they are the perfect prey animal to catch because of all those factors.
The only saving grace is intelligence and technology.
Yeah, but if you can isolate them from those two things, well, you're dragon chow. Which is why in book 2, when there's a police officer, wandering around stupidly in a dragon's territory.
Dude, okay, I still love the juice box scene.
I don't want to go into too many details because family friendly podcast and all that.
This is not family friendly at all.
Oh boy, but yeah, like that's like that was the perfect example. Dragon is hungry. Humans are stupid and easy to catch. I even like stupid. He got out of his car, easy to catch. He trips over his own 2 feet. Like, come on.
Yeah, and his gun is useless, so technology doesn't factor.
Yeah, if I had to like ignore chapter 24 from book 5, my next favorite scene is that scene. Just I don't know why, which is very very visceral and very I don't know.
Real.
I need to go to a therapist probably.
You can very much see my horror movie upbringing in there in this series because you've got scenes that are very evocative of Jaws where they're just tearing people apart with no care about it, and then you have scenes like The Thing where body horror is a thing.
Yep.
I just realized that I'm the opposite of Bantam because I can't watch horror movies. I can't watch gore flicks. I can't watch Jaws. I can't watch Saw. I can't watch any of that because it grosses me out and I start to feel nauseous. But reading about it, revel in it.
For what it's worth, I don't really count Saw as a horror film. That's torture porn.
Yeah, but the point is I can't see it.
Yeah. That's fair. I'm kind of on Dan's side because like I grew up watching gore slasher flicks, and but the only thing that I couldn't handle was my mom and I used to watch CSI a lot, and whenever there was anything involving eyeballs, couldn't do it. Whenever there was anything involving like slow-mo shots of like a bullet going through a chest cavity, I couldn't watch that either. It because it was real, like it was realistic. But again, Saw, completely unrealistic. Anything involving, a chainsaw or a battle axe or something from some monster, it was just like, ha ha ha, stupid morons got killed. It didn't affect me.
Yeah, Saw's a cartoon.
Yeah, it's basically a cartoon.
Now, Human Centipede, I hate that film.
I liked the concept, but yeah, the one thing that I know is making you retch. Yeah, I didn't like that either.
What about that concept did you like? Hold on, let's back up there for a second.
I like the concept of a crazy scientist just like ripping apart and sewing people back together. I think that was pretty great. Not in the way he did it, but
just the concept that somebody like that could exist.
Yes. That someone could look
he
at
likes
as
mad scientists.
that he looks at a group of 5 or 6 humans and goes, I wonder what would happen if all of them were one thing and still
Let me
alive.
stitch together the digestion tracks.
That was the part I didn't like.
Yeah, that part makes me.
I thought of a question a while ago when we were talking about Dragon Slayers. So this question has 2 parts, and part 1 is going to influence if I ask part 2 or not. When exactly did the Dragon War take place?
So the Tribe Wars took place 5,000 years in the past.
Okay, so way before people were like relevant at all. Okay, so then dragons are almost wiped out after that because they kind of fought themselves to near extinction.
Yeah, they were fighting themselves to extinction, and you actually get to see this in Book 7 as wyverns are attacking Kukulkan.
Yes, I remember. So that kind of leads into point 2 then. If dragons are such a small force in the world, like how are they interacting with people that like cause the need for dragon slayers to come up?
So after the Tribe War ends, there are still dragons about, but because they're in small isolated pockets, they cause enough problems for the booming human population that humans have to send out dragon slayers. Also, so humans were around 5,000 years ago. They were very much a proto-civilization, though.
Yeah.
So like, which is why the Tribe Wars even started, because half of the dragon population were like, okay, these are
we should uplift the humans.
And then the other half were like, well, they're almost as intelligent as us. We should help them.
Gross.
Mm-hmm. The Long gave humans writing, and the Kukulkan helped them engineer cities.
And look where it got them.
Uh-huh. Now we have capitalism. Thanks, dragons.
If only they saw that coming.
Yeah, the dragons don't have the same concept of money as everyone else.
Yeah, I actually think that's a little weird. I can't connect the 2 points in my head because at some point they said like dragons don't have the same concept of like ownership or whatever that humans do, which is why they can't think of money and exchange and trade and all that, right?
Well,
but then at the same time, dragons hoard things and they're like, "This is mine." So it's like,
so there's a difference between this is mine and this is something to trade. This has monetary value outside of how I feel towards it.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
A hoard is a possession that makes you feel complete, whereas money is something that you're like, I have a lot of this that I can then exchange for goods and services.
Yes. It's the difference between, I wanted a peanut, and money can be exchanged for many peanuts.
Explain how. Money can be exchanged for goods and services. But yeah, it's just like, I imagine like back 5,000 years ago, like a dragon has a horde, and like they have territory, and maybe in that territory like people live, and they're like, these people are mine, because maybe he sees them as food, but like you don't come into my territory and hunt my people. Surely at some point another dragon, especially the social ones like the Kukulkan, are like, well, they're also semi-hive minded and very, very like socialist almost. Not I can't think of the word.
They're very flocky.
Yeah. So surely there's another dragon that's like, hey, dragon, I can't think of a name right off the top of my head. Hey, I'm gonna give you some of this stuff that I had. Let me come into your territory for a little bit just to hunt some of these people or something. It's like, surely that would have like naturally happened at some point, and then currency evolves off of that.
But that would require a dragon giving away part of its hoard. And have you seen the show TLC Hoarders? They don't give away stuff.
I have not seen that show.
Trust me. And once you start hoarding, you don't give it up.
Yeah. So if something is considered part of a horde, they're not going to just give it up. It's the difference if it's something they consider to just be animals in their territory. Then it's like you have to ask the dragon for permission to hunt in their territory. That's not the same thing as taking part of their horde.
Right, but I don't mean like I'm going to give you part of my horde to hunt it. I mean like, let's pretend you hoard Skylanders, okay? Just off the top of my head, okay? You hoard Skylanders, and I hoard
magic cards. Thank you very much. Okay,
you hoard magic cards, and I hoard D&D books. Like I have so many D&D books I've never used. No. For this to work, I can't hoard magic cards. So he hoards magic cards, I hoard D&D books. You have something that I want in your territory or just in whatever. I'm going to give you magic cards because they're valuable to you, but not to me.
Well, that's not the same thing as like, I will give you $20 to go buy yourself magic cards so I can go do things here. That's not currency. Right. That's giving me more of what I have and already like.
The point is that's the first step, because the second step is then, hey, I don't have magic cards. This other dragon does. I'm going to give you something that I know he wants, and then you can go do the trade yourself. And that's what evolves into currency over time eventually.
Yeah, at that point, no, dragons are too lazy to do that, though.
They're also just not social enough. At least the worms and whatnot aren't.
No, the worms are not social enough for that. The longs might eventually get there, but not the not the worms. The worms would just be like, if you have the means to go get magic cards, why are you still talking to me?
Yeah, yes, I guess. I don't know. I'm just my brain. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll go back in my corner.
This is part of the reason why dragons don't have the same concept of currency as humans. Because
Yeah,
dragons would fundamentally think differently than us, and we wouldn't be able to understand them because our concept of currency is fundamentally different from theirs.
How dare you? For the sake of the show, I am a dragon.
Yeah. Okay.
Role play.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to ask you real fast about some soul shenanigans from book 6 when you got into your cosmology and all that.
Yeah.
Because like the nether plane is where the dragons go to recover from the trauma inflicted upon them in their physical life and whatnot, right?
Yep.
It's where souls go to heal. What happens when they're fully healed? Do they stay there forever? Do they advance to another, like there's a next step? Do they re-enter the life cycle? Yeah, so reincarnation. Okay.
Yeah, they can reincarnate.
So they just
the reality is that life is a very traumatic process, and you need time to recover from that shit, guys.
Yeah. My personal belief is reincarnation, so I'm happy that that's what it is. So I just imagine that the nether plane is now like a waiting room for them to be like, hey, look, an egg. I'm gonna go inhabit this egg.
Yeah. So the reason why there's so many dragons on the dragon nether plane though is because not really many eggs have been born lately, guys.
Yeah. I guess another question is the initial diagram or model or whatever that they saw in book 6. There were 5 nether planes, right?
I believe that the model displays 5 of them, but there is actually a significant number of that I don't talk about.
Oh, well, I was just wondering because like if there were 5, then they're like dragon, fae, human, and then angel was mentioned. So what was the 5th one?
The 5th one was like I don't want to talk about it right now because it could come up later, but might be demons, might not. You never know.
I feel like there's angels, there has to be demons or devils or something.
Yeah, might be demons, might not. Who knows?
I was just curious. It's like whatever. There's more than 5. They only know about the 5. There's a 6th one. Oh, gasp.
There's so the thing about nether planes is that if enough people congregate, another one can form. Because it's basically formed from the collective unconscious, which is why the human nether plane is so freaking huge, but also very much dominated by the Christian view of heaven.
Yeah. Can souls go from one world to another?
It's technically possible. However, it's ill-advisable given that the nether planes are quite far apart unless they were maneuvered closer together for other purposes.
Yeah. So like theoretically, another people could make their way to Earth, live there, and because there's now enough of them, they kind of create their own nether plane. Now there's a new one.
Yep, that could 100% happen.
Yeah, I'm just wondering like what's all possible within this world you've created. So I'm just like, spitting ideas.
That is 100% a thing that can happen.
Okay, that's really cool. I like that. I'm gonna steal that, and you can't stop me.
No, that's fine. I'm very proud of my mechanics for cosmology in this series.
Yeah, it's really good. I love mythology like that. It's beautiful, and it fits together so well.
Yep.
I have 2 other questions that are kind of like I've been saving specifically for the end. So, do you 2 have anything else you want to ask him?
No. Nope.
No. Okay. So then, I want to ask you, why do you hate Lewis so much?
Okay, so I actually have an answer prepared for this, and Ray, you're not going to like it. The truth of the matter is, I don't hate Lewis. I love Lewis. I know. To bits.
It's a joke. It's just I feel like you pick on him a lot.
I have to pick on him. He's the main character, and as the main character, if bad things didn't happen to him, he wouldn't grow and evolve. So I have to kick the puppy. That's just how it works.
Don't kick the puppy.
I love the puppy, but I have to kick the puppy or the puppy won't grow up.
The thing is, I understand that the main character has trials and tribulations to go through. I just feel like where he ended up didn't really account for as much kicking as he got. This is mostly my hatred of Becca.
Ray's biggest issue that he told me was that, Lewis was the first and he had this destiny to become, essentially the beginning of a new race of dragons, and he kind of didn't really get to be the leader so much as all these dragons were just like, we're just gonna we're all the power struggles and stuff. It's like Lewis never really had a position of authority.
I also feel like Becca was usurping main character status like halfway through the series
when she's like, I could easily take control, I just don't want to.
Yeah, and then like at another point she's like, I'm a sorceress, what could Aurora do that I couldn't do but better? And just like I feel like, particularly when Lewis was suffering from the soul rip or whatever, the soul collapse, Becca stepped in and filled the shoes of main character because somebody had to while he was falling apart. I get that, but it's like I just feel like towards the end it became less of his story and more of a we're setting up Becca for the second arc, which is fine if that's what you want to do. That's okay. It's just that's why to me it feels like Lewis didn't get enough good stuff by the end of it.
Actually didn't really know I was going to write an arc 2 by the time book 6 rolled around.
It was your subconscious. It just knew.
Yeah. But I'm actually very satisfied with how Lewis's story ends, mostly because he's kind of the more mundane dragon in the series. Like his destiny was to become the leader of the tribe, and he does achieve that destiny. And he does step up, he does take a leadership role, he does win the final battle by his own power. Like, yes, Becca's there, and yes, the others are there, but it's him leading the front, it's him forming the plan, and it's him who ultimately finishes the job. It's not, like his alternate personality. It's not Becca, buffing him up. It's him under his own power, going mano a mano, or Drago a Drago, I guess we could almost say, with first choice.
Yeah. I should have just killed first choice. Grumble, grumble, grumble.
What, and give him, a dragon afterlife? No.
Oh, you know what? That's a fair point. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even consider that. Okay, thank you then. Yeah, holy shit.
Uh-huh.
I ain't sending you to heaven to ruin it.
I ain't sending you to dragon heaven to pollute it with dragon capitalism. Are you kidding? We have enough of that down here.
I can't believe that didn't occur to me. Okay. I withdraw all my complaints about how first choice ended.
Wow, that's a complete 180.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense.
Yeah,
I spent half the book talking about dragon heaven. I thought it was going to be obvious.
Well, at the time, I didn't really fully understand the reincarnation was possible. That's why I had to ask you. So it's like, I guess it didn't click. But
all right.
There's one kicking Lewis part that's like, this was unnecessary, and that's just he didn't get to have his sesame chicken.
Oh, yeah, no.
That what the fuck, man?
No. That's called kick the puppy while they're down.
Yeah. Mean.
No, that's a rule. You have to be really mean to your main character. Like in writing, if your main character isn't miserable constantly, they are not driven to move forward. Like if you get your main character, I actually go out of my way to display this. Like in book 3, Lewis is content. He's comfortable. He is fed. He doesn't have to do anything, and it's a problem.
Could have just been a zoo exhibit.
Now, to be fair, I am going to put Diligent through hell and back in my book. Because it is the only motivator.
I'm already planning
to bully them. You have to kick the puppy when they're down.
But he could at least had sesame chicken.
Yeah, that was being a dick to be a dick, man.
He got beat up by Lucy and then doesn't get any chicken.
Thinking back to the story that I wrote when I was a kid, I kind of was a dick to my character.
No, I understand that's how stories work. I get that. It's just poor baby. All right. I think we're pretty much done then. I have one question left, but it's more of like plugging, let you plug your other things because you have other works out there. And,
yes, I have many other works out there.
And I want to give you a chance to briefly talk about each of them to try to entice us and other listeners to give your other works a chance. So it's I understand you have, I don't know the name of the series, but I know the first book is called Drake, right?
Yeah, so that's the Center of Magical Affairs series. That is a magical cyberpunk series with a lot of dragons.
Quadrupedal or bipedal?
Quadrupedal dragons.
Because
I heard the word
and
cyberpunk.
bipedal.
Because I'm pretty sure Drake, the character on that cover was a bipedal dragon, right?
He is a Drake, actually. That is the name of their species. And the thing about drakes is that there's two kinds of drakes. There's the people who are drakes against their choice, so those are people born that way. And then there's the people who use magic to become drakes temporarily.
Okay. What the hell? I want to read this because I heard cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk and dragons.
Too.
Dilettant has been looking for more futuristic dragon settings.
Yes.
I have.
Yep.
I told Ray I was so sick and tired of egg hatching scenes and caves and gold.
I love egg hatching scenes.
I'm so sorry. There is an egg hatching scene in Drake.
Well,
God damn it!
Listen. If you're gonna hide that under the veneer of cyberpunk, I'm fine with it.
How many books?
There's no veneer of cyberpunk. It is cyberpunk. Right now, there's 4 books in the series,
and the first one's on Audacity. Audible.
The first one's Audible. I currently don't have any intention of producing audiobooks for the rest of the series, largely because it's not as successful as Lazy Scales. So I currently don't really have much of an impetus to produce audiobooks, because again, audiobooks take a long time to produce and they are very expensive, and I'm paying out of pocket for these.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have like a Ko-fi or a Patreon or a Kickstarter or anything that like people could contribute to help?
You could just buy his
I
books.
have a Patreon. You buy my books, and yes, I have a Patreon where I post chapters for books in production.
I may like subscribe just because I love your work, but I don't think I'll ever read that because I like getting it all at once in a juicy
Totally
package.
fair. That's actually an ongoing issue where some of my readers were like, "Wow, Dan, you're causing me incredible emotional distress," and I'm just like, "Listen, I know we're at the low point in the book. Just stick with it, guys.
Imagine
I know how this ends."
Like, Bantam, you hate watching TV series that release an episode a week. Imagine doing that with a book. You get one chapter a month, and it's like, wait.
Oh God, no! One chapter a month? I do 2 a day.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ!
I write quickly.
Is your
very quickly?
Is your Patreon URL easy enough that you could just say it? I mean, we can also include a link in the show notes.
You will have to include a link in the show notes, but I will.
Or just search his username on Patreon.
It's patreon.com/DM Gilmore. And yeah, very, very easy. We'll include it in the show notes. I'll give you guys a link. Here, I'll put it in the audience stand. So that way you guys have easy.
Which you could have been a part of for $5 a month. Keep that in mind, guys.
Hey, there's our weekly show.
But yeah, so with my Patreon, you get access to my technically it's a public Discord server where I do QAs, I do discussions about the books, and there's a Patreon exclusive room where we get to discuss current chapters for books in progress. Speaking of books in progress, in addition to Drake, I also have the Fate and Freedom Online series, which is my lit RPG.
Is that the one with the gnolls?
That's the one with the gnolls.
Yeah,
Fluffy.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, book one's already out. Book 2 is coming in November. Yeah, book one's out. Book 2 is coming in November. And then I also have a super duper top secret project, which may or may not be very heavily Digimon inspired, and that's coming out probably at the end of the year.
I'm really looking forward to that one.
Digimon.
Yeah, Pokemon for taking Digimon spotlight, guy. I'll forever be pissed about that. Thank you.
Superior in every respect.
Okay, so I'm usually a contrarian because it's entertaining to me. But when I was growing up, everyone was like Pokemon, Digimon, Pokemon. I watched Metabots, so I didn't.
That's I have bad news for you. I have bad news for you. Metabots is actually just Digimon.
Oh, yeah. I mean, no. It kind of is. Yeah, I understand, but I like robots. As a little kid, I was always into robots, and the concept of having 2 robots beat the crap out of each other, and then the winner gets to take your arm, you just rip off your opponent's arm and go, yeah, I like this, metal blade thrower. I'm taking it. And then the kid has to go to the store and buy a replacement arm for his robot because he lost.
That's sad, though. So I don't like any game universe, whether it's a TV show like Metabots or like I feel like the original Pokemon TCG had a prize mechanic where you had to take your opponent's cards. Whatever. I hate that because that's just an example of like the rich kid richer. It's like, I have a good deck, I'm gonna beat you and take your strongest card. I'm now stronger, and it's like I hate that. It's the same reason I hate why in online card games, like the top 100 players get 10 free packs and 100,000 dust. It's like they don't need it. They already got the good decks.
All right.
Whatever. Okay.
Ray has a moment.
So yeah. As Dan mentioned, he has a Patreon. It's DM Gilmore, and yeah, definitely check it out.
Mm-hmm. You can also follow me on Facebook at DM Gilmore Author. I have a Twitter, but God knows I don't really use it. I probably should use it more because Twitter is a good platform for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yes, the best way to stay in contact with me or to get access to my content is to join my Patreon and join my Discord.
All right. I think we're pretty much out of things to ask you.
Yeah, we should wrap it up.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for joining us, everybody, and thank you for giving us some of your valuable time, DM Gilmore person.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you
for having me.
You told me what the D stood for, and I already forgot.
Dan.
I'm just that bad with names, okay? I'm really sorry. Dan. All right. So yeah, thank you for joining us, Dan. I will slowly work through the second Laser Scale series, but like I said, I don't have a lot of paper reading time. just the nature of my job, I'm able to listen to audio so much easier. But I'll get to it eventually. And I'm pretty sure these guys are going to want to try out your Drake series from the sounds
hell
of it.
yeah. Hell yeah. I one of my favorite genres / fantasy worlds is Shadowrun.
Yeah, it's very much Shadowrun inspired.
Oh,
Basically, humans found magic. Magic is linked to dragons. Now we have dragon people.
awesome. Yes.
Also, magic is run through your cell phone, which is how the system works.
Love
The
it.
main character is a programmer. He literally codes spell apps. That's his thing.
Stop, he can only get so erect.
Can only it sounds like my dream book. What the fuck?
Yeah, this was a book that I really wanted to write. And yeah, I have 4 books in the series. I will say book 4 is hella emotional damage, but hey.
Is book 4 the last or just the last one you've done so far?
The last one I've done so far. My approach to Center of Magical Affairs is much more lackadaisical than my other series. I write maybe 1 book a year at this point, and I'm kind of due for another one, but hey, you know.
Yeah. I was going to say, just I'm so tempted to go into your Discord and just be like, Becca's the worst, and just see what happens.
Well, prepare to get attacked.
It's fine. It's that meme of the guy that runs into a group, like Trollface says something and then angry mob.
Yeah, except the angry mob is all around you.
Yeah.
Just little kobold.
I'm gonna go poke the hornet's nest. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Well, anyway, we're just devolving to random tangents now. So again, thank you, listeners, for joining us.
Thank you for joining us, Stan. It's been a pleasure, and yeah, I definitely look forward to the Center of Magical Affairs when we get to that.
Thank you very much for having me, guys, and I hope you enjoy that when we get to it.
I know I will.
Yeah.
Yes. Honestly, based on what you've told me, I think you will enjoy it the most.
Yeah, probably.
All right. So next episode, we're gonna do the Spyro Reignited trilogy, just because these poor boys need something that's not book related.
My eyes.
You need video game culture.
Yeah.
Yes.
They've been such good boys getting through this 6-book series, 4 of which had to be read with their own 2 eyeballs.
Oh.
So to reward them, we're doing a video game episode. So we're just gonna do that, and we're still gonna see if we can't get a YouTube video where we just rank all the Dragon Dads from the first game. But then after that,
Center for Magical Affairs.
I guess we could just jump into that if you guys want. But like I said, what I really wanted to do was I wanted to get a vote on our Discord where we put like 4 or 5 ideas out and let our Discord people vote.
Yeah.
I will try to get the vote set up like a week before the Spyro episode goes live, just so that gives them a week to vote, and then we can announce on that episode what we're doing next. But so if you want to vote, be sure to join the Discord. There'll be a link in the show notes.
All right.
All right.
Goodbye, travelers.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye, Dan.
Bye.